Hey guys, Decimate here, and today we are going to cover Masteries. Super important for your champions. They are kind of boring to grind, definitely not something you want to spend your gems on, but super important and can make a huge difference in the effectiveness of your champions in a lot of different areas of the game. So we're going to go over a bunch of different champions masteries. I'm here on Zibbo's account, and he's got all different kinds of champions that he has ground out the masteries for. And we are going to choose them today. So we have an Arbiter, a Royal Guard, Narma, Vizier, Armiger, Bergumkar, and a Mountain King to do. So we got AoE max HP nukers there in Royal Guard. We've got single target hitters, Mountain King. We've got some support champions. Armiger is kind of a support slash max HP hitter. A little bit of a mixed bag there. Vizier and Narma obviously are going to be for mostly clan boss, and Narma is actually great for other bosses, Doom Tower and Dragon included. And then Arbiter is great pretty much anywhere in the game, but definitely her spot is going to be primarily the arena. So we are going to take a look at all these different champions and the types of masteries we're going to put on them based on where he wants to use them in the game, and kind of try to maximize the effectiveness of all of them and not just blindly copy something that we saw in a YouTube video or a website like a Yumi Love. That is a great website for starting out and getting a starting point when you're newer to the game, but later on you want to start kind of thinking about where you're specifically going to use the champions and make maybe slightly different choices on your masteries than is on that website or any YouTuber's videos like mine, for instance. I may have in mind a use for my champion and pick masteries that make absolutely no sense for you in your use case. So don't just blindly copy them. Definitely give them some thought, because it makes a huge difference in your champion's abilities and basic effectiveness anywhere you're going to use them. So with that said, let's dive in here and take a look at what we got. Alright, first up is going to be Arbiter, and she is an amazing champion. Everyone's after her when they start the game. She is kind of the first major goal. And she is a game changer when you do get her. Like I said, she could be used anywhere. Definitely best in the arena as you progress further in the game. And she is very versatile as far as masteries go. You can kind of go a bunch of different directions. Looks like he's got a couple chosen here, and these are fine. But for the other tree, you can go offense or defense. Defense is my preferred, but if you are going to use her in clan boss, you probably would want to take the offense tree and come down on kind of a standard clan boss build and grab War Master. And that'll also help for all the different bosses in dungeons and that kind of thing. Not a bad way to go. Probably defense is my preferred way to go on an Arbiter. Just gives her a little bit more survivability and utility in the arena, and isn't bad in dungeons either. So this is the way that I would choose to go 99% of the time on an Arbiter. Like I said, if you are going to use her in clan boss and specifically dungeons, earlier on in the game, you could come this way for a while, and then maybe later when you replace her, or find that you don't need that extra War Master damage in the dungeons, you could use your free reset and switch over here into the defense tree into something like I'm going to do here. And what I'm going to do is bring up the Raid Bro website here. This is what I use typically when I'm trying to plan out masteries, and this site is free and all, and you can come on here and just kind of play with different builds. And what I've done is put in the two that I have on my Arbiters. I was lucky or unlucky enough to pull a dupe Arbiter at some point, and I guess she's useful for 3v3, so I'm not complaining too much about that dupe. There are much worse ones you could get, but I do have two, and these are the two different mastery trees that I built on mine. And you can see they're pretty similar, but I went to different spots for the T6 mastery and started in a slightly different spot on the defense tree. The defense tree, this top bit here, the first two rows, don't matter a whole lot. They're all pretty decent, and they all give you a little bit of extra survivability. So you can pretty much go to any of these for most champions, and it's not going to be a huge deal. They all do, a little bit different thing, but they are all basically defensive masteries. Blastproof is going to decrease AoE damage, so in the arena that's pretty good because there's a lot of AoE nukes. Rejuvenation does increase the amount of healing and shields that people get by a tiny bit. It's not huge, but it can be a little bit of a difference. I do take this one on some clan boss champions that I use quite often. And then Mighty Endurance decreases damage if they are debuffed, And then we've got improved parry that decreases the damage by 8% if they're hit with a critical hit. And this one's pretty good because, you know, if it's a crit, it's likely going to be a pretty big hit. So 8% of a big hit can be a pretty big reduction. So not a bad one there. And then, you know, as far as the T6 masteries go, where we're ending up, Unshakable is a pretty decent option on an Arbiter and gives you that 50 extra resist, which is a pretty good chunk of resist. But I would say if you can't push fairly high resist on a champion, this isn't really worth taking. An extra 50 resist, if you're starting off at 100, isn't a huge deal. You know, having 150 resist isn't really helpful. If you can push that resist, you know, over 300 or something with this might be a good option. Most people, especially earlier on in the game, are going to have, you know, around 220 accuracy or so on their champions because they're going to be shooting for that for using them in dungeons. So if you're not pushing way over that in resistance, this is probably not the best option. The other one that I have in Timely Intervention, which is a great T6 mastery, and that increases their turn meter by 20% whenever an ally's health goes below 25, and that's guaranteed. So anytime someone on your team is about to die or does die, your Arbiter's turn meter will get a big boost, and she can come back and jump in and either revive or heal or turn meter boost everyone else. So this is definitely a good one on a lot of support champions. And I think this is probably the way we're going to go on Zibbos today. And again, the defense tree, I started off in different spots, but we are still taking these four here. Shadow Heal is a great option. This is a really annoying mastery when you're facing it in the arena. A lot of times you'll see this on Duchesses and everything. And basically anytime you heal, they heal too. So great mastery on a lot of support champions, and it's pretty obnoxious. Resurgent can remove some debuffs whenever your Arbiter or whoever you put it on takes a big hit. That's a really good one. And then Delay Death is pretty decent, more for sustained fights. This one's good for clan boss more, but we're taking that so we can get down here into Cycle of Revenge, which has a 50% chance of increasing the turn meter by 15% when an ally is hit by a critical hit, and that's obviously going to happen a lot when you're in the arena. So this one is a necessity on your Arbiter, and one of the main reasons that we do want to come in this defense tree on the Arbiter. The other Arbiter I have came over here in Retribution, and that's partly to get over here in Unshakable, but this also gives her a chance of counterattacking when she does take a big hit, and you know, she can throw out that weaken on somebody when that happens, and that can be helpful. Or maybe she finishes them off if they're low health. So not a bad choice either, but mostly that was just to come down here into Unshakable. Over in the support tree, you can see on both sides we're staying pretty similar, and we are able to pick up lasting gifts in this example, which is pretty nice to extend that attack up, but not a huge deal. But we're going to be starting off in the accuracy portion here. The health could work, that's fine. I do like a little bit of accuracy on my Arbiter just so she can have a chance to remove some buffs or reduce the duration of some buffs on the enemy team. I do think that's pretty nice. It's not something you necessarily need to shoot for. You're obviously going to shoot for, you know, gearing her out with as much speed as possible. So sometimes super high accuracy is hard to get, and I don't have mine with great accuracy either. But you know, it's enough to strip off that unkillable of a skull crown most of the time. And then we are going to come into Exalt in Death. Notice that we're not going to go over here into the typical kind of accuracy build, because again, we're not mainly focusing on accuracy for this Arbiter. We're going to be focusing on survivability and, you know, general utility, because she is a great utility champion. So Exalt in Death will give her a little bit of health back when someone dies. Rapid Response will increase her turn meter whenever a buff is removed or expires, which is happening a lot because she throws up that increased attack all the time. Flora Steel will help her out a little bit with the artifact sets, which are probably all going to be speed sets, so even more speed from all those. It's not much, but it does add up, and especially when you're getting super high on your Arbiter speed, every little bit counts, and one speed can be the difference between you going first and winning and going second and losing. Evil Eye is a master I like to take on a ton of different champions, and it is fantastic for the arena and dungeons, basically everywhere. If I give a champion any amount of reasonable accuracy, I will typically try to take Evil Eye to reduce that turn meter on that first hit. And then a Spirit Haste, again, great one on Arbiter. I believe I took that on both builds. Yep, I did. And that just speeds her up if other people are dead. So if half your team is dead in the arena, it's going to make her even faster, get her cycled back to her revive or her heals, that kind of thing. And then obviously Lasting Gifts is increasing the buff duration. And then we end up in Timely Intervention. So this is the one we are going to go with. So we are going to unlock this branch, take these two, come over here into Shadow Heal, Resurgent, Delay Death, and then Cycle of Revenge. And then over here we are going to, which one did we end up taking? Not that. We took this here. This is another option you could take if you wanted. Let me go back real quick. Instead of Evil Eye, if you don't have a lot of accuracy, you could take Cycle of Magic and have a very small chance of, decreasing the cooldown of one of your skills. It's only 5%, doesn't happen a lot. When it does, it can be huge, but I like Evil Eye over that because it's just more consistent. We're going to take that, come down here, grab Spirit Haste. You could take Master Hexer also to increase the duration of that weaken, but again, that's not really her primary function. You're going to probably have somebody else throwing out weaken and decrease defense for you, so we're not going to take this in this case. We are going to grab Lasting Gifts instead and end up in Timely Intervention, and that is going to be our Arbiter. Alright, next up we got Royal Guard, and he is a big max HP nuker, so you're going to want to build him for as much damage as possible. He pretty much just has that one roll. That's basically the only way anyone's ever going to build him, so he is pretty straightforward with the Masteries. A couple of small changes you could make, but essentially this is how I go on all my max HP nukers and a lot of my arena nukers as well. But we're going to take the crit and the crit damage, obviously. We're going to come over here and grab Heart of Glory because usually he's going to be attacking that first hit, the big max HP hit with full HP, so we're going to take that. And then we are going to come over here and grab Ruthless Ambush, which is going to add another 8% onto that. And that is a huge chunk of damage. You definitely want to grab all these percentage damage chunks because they increase the max HP hits by a ton. Say you're hitting for 1,000,000 damage, this is another 80,000 damage, so that's a lot. 160,000 damage if you're hitting for 2 million, which is certainly possible with a Royal Guard. So there is one area here where you could go two different ways. You can take Cycle of Violence on a Royal Guard so that he has a chance of cycling through back to his big hits even faster. That is an option. Or you can come over here and take Bring It Down, which will give you another, say, 60k damage if you're hitting for 1,000,000 damage. So that is what I tend to do on a Royal Guard. A lot of champions, I do like to take Cycle of Violence here, but on Royal Guards and Cold Hearts, I do like to come over here and grab this. It's unfortunate that we can't grab both, but c'est la vie. And then we do want to come over here into Flawless Execution as our tier 6 for the extra crit damage. Helm Smasher again is an option, but for non-arena nukers, I do typically like to come into Flawless Execution for the consistency, and it's just going to be more consistent damage every time, and you can kind of predict your damage a little bit better, and you don't have to rely on that 50% proc chance on Helm Smasher here. So that's the way we're going to go there. I don't see a lot of benefit in going with the defense tree on him. You could grab the counterattacks or something, but I think the accuracy tree in the support tree, that is going to be the way to go. So we are going to go ahead and grab all three of the accuracy masteries here. These are pretty typical on anyone that you need high accuracy on. You don't have to build your Royal Guard with accuracy, but I do like the turn meter reduction. The decreased defense and the decreased speed are also nice to land, so I typically do try to get my Royal Guard's accuracy to an acceptable level. And then we are going to come into Evil Eye. I love Evil Eye, like I've said before. And we're going to come down here into Sniper. That just gives him a little bit more chance of landing that decreased defense and speed on the enemies. Not a huge deal, but there's not a whole lot else here we want to take. Master Hexer could extend it a little bit, but he's not going to be your main debuffer anyway, so you're not really relying on him to place those debuffs. So we're just going to give him a better chance to do it. Say if your main debuffer misses one or something like that, we'll just go ahead and take Sniper here. That's going to be the Royal Guard, and for the last one, I think we'll go ahead and take Kill Streak here, which is going to increase his damage even more as he kills enemies. So this is useful if he does get a second chance to nuke the spider. This is going to go up to 12% because he's going to kill a bunch of spiderlings with that first one. And you know, in other areas, if you're using an ice golem, say, if he's killing people throughout the waves, by the time he gets the ice golem, he's going to have the increased damage from this kill streak. So we will go ahead and grab that one as well. And that is going to be the Royal Guard. Pretty easy. And we'll move on. All right, next up we have Narma, and Narma is a really cool champion. I think she's kind of underrated, or I just don't see a lot of her out there being used, but she is a great champion. I'm actually having a lot of fun with her in Doom Tower myself. She has been really good on some of those bosses, and we are going to give her a kind of a standard clan boss build that works well in Doom Tower as well. So for clan boss, pretty much any clan boss character is going to come down this tree to begin with. And if you're going to use her in an unkillable team, it would be slightly different, but a standard clan boss team is usually going to also take Heart of Glory in most cases. And then there's a couple options here. I typically like to take Life Drinker, and Cycle of Violence is pretty good, not so much for the clan boss, but if you're using her elsewhere. So we'll go ahead and take that as well. And then we'll come over to the support tree. Again, if you were doing unkillable, you'd probably come down into these 3, 4, and then hop over here into these 2 counterattacks. That's pretty good. Also, Stoked Fury could be an option, but we're not going to take that today. What we're going to do is come over here into the support tree and grab the accuracy. She does have a lot of debuffs that she is going to be placing out there. So we're going to take the 3 main accuracy masteries here, and then we're going to come into the book, give her a little bit of an increase in stats from any kind of speed gear you might put on her, or if you're using her elsewhere or in an unkillable team, it could be for other gear, but we're going to take those 2. And then I do believe we want to come into Master Hexer, and that is going to give her a chance to extend her debuffs. And I don't think there's really anything else here that's going to be useful. All her debuffs are at 100% chance to land, except for the extend, and I don't think this works on the extend. I'm not positive on that, but I'm pretty sure it doesn't. The wording indicates that it wouldn't. We don't want to take this because that's going to give her extra speed if someone's dead, and we don't want any kind of speed masteries in a clan boss speed tune setup, so we're not taking that. So we can come over here and grab something else. We could take Blood Shield. That might be useful in waves if you're going to use her on the dragon or something. Again, Stoked to Fury or Kill Streak could work. I think we'll just go ahead and take the Blood Shield. This doesn't impact her a ton, but we got to choose something, and that's what we're going to do. So this is going to be our Narma, and I think you could make an argument for using her in the defense tree if you already had all the support or all the accuracy you needed and didn't need it from the support tree. Master Hexer is really nice to grab here, and in the defense tree you do get the chance of extending more often through the counterattacks. So even in a non-unkillable team, the defense tree would be a pretty good option to go for if you don't need that accuracy. So that is how we're going to build this Narma. All right, next up we got Vizier, and this is a fantastic champion, one that I actually don't have myself, but he is also going to be a clan boss champion primarily, and we are going to build him pretty similar to what we did with our Narma just now. However, he is a 3-hitter here on his A1. So instead of taking War Master, we are going to make our way over into Giant Slayer. So kind of the standard crit rate, crit damage, and we're going to come here, here, and then we got to get over to Giant Slayer. So we're coming into Giant Slayer there, and then we can kind of fill in the rest of this here in a second. First, I want to talk about whether you're going into defense or support. If you do have the gear to get the accuracy without needing these extra little bumps here from the support tree, you can go in the defense tree and come down into these counterattack masteries, which can be pretty helpful. And I think that's probably the way we're going to go here on Zibbo's account. But if you did want to go into the support tree, I would do accuracy, accuracy, accuracy. And then you could probably take the book and maybe sniper or evil eye here. And then either Sniper or Master Hexer. Again, I'm not sure if Sniper actually increases the chance of you extending debuffs. I don't really think that it does, but there is a chance. Maybe if somebody knows, they can comment below for sure. But I was always under the impression that it did not. but I think we are going to go into the defense tree, and we're going to unlock that. And then we are going to grab reduced damage from AoEs. Chance to remove a debuff, mainly just to get down here. Delay death is always a great one to take on a champion for clan boss, because this is going to go up to 6% because he's going to hit you a bunch of times. So in arena battles, not that big of a deal, but for clan bosses, it is a good one. And then we want to come over here into Retribution for sure, for that chance to counterattack with his A1, which gives you more extensions. So the other one we might want to grab here is going to be Deterrence. And that's if the clan boss is applying that stun, you want to take this. If your team is blocking that every time, this might not be worth taking, but it kind of just depends on your team. If you are blocking it, I wouldn't take this. If you're not, and then you're cleansing it off, this is probably worth taking. So we are going to, I think we're going to go ahead and take that for now. And then we got to make a decision here, what we want to do to fill this out. This is always a good idea to take. If, again, unkillable teams, you usually end up going with Grim Resolve instead of this one, because you're going to be at low health all the time. And then we got, what, 2 more here? I think we will probably take Life Drinker. And then these 2 are kind of a toss-up on a clan boss champion. You know, you don't really want dead allies when you're in the clan boss, so this one shouldn't come into play until the very end, and you know, it's going to give you a tiny bit more damage if he's the last one standing. This one might come into play more if you do use him elsewhere in the game. So I usually like to take Cycle of Violence. If you do have some attack built into your Vizier, he might be able to reduce the cooldown on a skill here. It's not going to come into play on the clan boss, but we'll go ahead and take that, and that's how we are going to finish out this Vizier. So I was taking a look here at the gear for Vizier that we already got in the account and whatnot, just kind of messing around with the new tool here, the fitting room, and I did want to take a look at what masteries they had on a Yumi Love for Vizier, and I jumped on there and came down to the clan boss build here, and it looks like the offense tree is pretty similar. You know, we came down here into Giant Slayer as expected. But then over here in the support tree, they actually have Cycle of Magic taken, which is not something you want on your Vizier, especially for clan boss. This is giving him a chance to cool down a random skill. Not a very big chance, but definitely something you want to avoid on most clan boss champions. You want him not using this A2 and A3 as much as possible, in fact, in the clan boss. What you really want him to do is just keep using this A1. So why would you want to give him a chance to cool down one of these skills so that he uses that instead of this A1? So that's just an example of, you know, something you might see on a website or in a video, even one of my videos. You know, I make mistakes too, and I might choose a stupid mastery. So if you think that it's something that you don't need on your champion or wouldn't work on your champion, you know, don't just copy it. You know, this is a prime example of what not to do. Don't take Cycle of Magic on pretty much every clan boss champion you're going to use. So this needs to go. Do not take it. Alright, next up we got Armiger, and it looks like we have him in a Destroy set here, and that is probably in preparation for the Scarab. He is great for the Scarab, also great for the Spider, regular Spider that is, and you know, he can be built a couple different ways, but I think what we're going to do here today is a pretty good standard build for an Armiger. It's going to be kind of similar to a clan boss build here starting out. We're going to come down this tree, and I don't think, is he, no, he's not 6-starred yet, so we can't actually take the tier 6 mastery, but what we're going to do is actually want War Master here. There's an argument for taking Helm Smasher or Flawless Execution for more damage on his max HP hit. However, usually he's going to default to his A1 if the turn meter is above, I think, 30%. So War Master is probably going to end up giving you more damage overall, especially on auto. And typically you are going to want him doing that A1 as often as possible. It's nice when he gets a max HP hit in, but especially on auto, it's going to end up being a lot more A1s than that A2. So I would typically recommend in most use cases to take War Master over Flawless or Helm Smasher. And then we're probably going to want to go into the support tree. Again, you could come and take some counterattacks here, but I think taking the accuracy and evil eye is going to be the way to go for most people on an Armiger. And I think that's what we're going to do here today. So we took the 3 accuracy, then we're coming in here to Evil Eye, give him that extra turn meter reduction for waves and stuff like that. Really nice. I love Evil Eye. And then I guess we'll go ahead and take Sniper just because we have to choose one. And then over here on this side, we could do a couple different things. We do probably want to take Heart of Glory. We do probably want Life Drinker in case he gets a smack. He can heal up off this pretty well. And then what do we want to do here? We could take the book if we thought we were going to have sets on that used some of the stuff here from the book. What does he have them in now? Looks like it's, okay, it's a mixed set here and then Destroy. And if we take a look at Destroy, it doesn't increase any of our base stats, so we're not actually going to gain anything off of the book if we do take that here, Lore of Steel. So we could take it just because we might wear, you know, a speed set or something like that in the future. But I think typically it's going to be 50-50 on whether this is coming into play on an Armiger. Up to you. If you have a bunch of speed sets or, you know, something else that you think would benefit, absolutely take it. Otherwise, it's not going to really do anything for you. So we are going to end up here in War Master. We can't take it right now because he's not 6th yet. But let's see what else we want to take here. This would give him more damage when allies are dead, and then this reduces a cooldown. Again, mostly we want him a 1-ing, so neither one of those are going to be a huge deal for us. And then this could be helpful if he does kill a couple things along the way for the waves. So I think we will go ahead and take Kill Streak. And then this last one is really kind of up in the air. You could take the book, you could take either of these two. Really up to you. I think I'm going to go ahead and take Cycle. Maybe he can get a couple more hits in, A2s in during some waves if we're using him for faction war, that kind of thing. I typically like Cycle of Revenge over Wrath of the Slain just because I'm trying to not have the rest of my allies dead as much as possible, so I don't actually want this to be used ever. So we're going to pretend like they're never going to die, so that's never going to happen, and proc that ability there. So we're going to take that, and I think that's going to wrap it up for Armiger. These are pretty much across the board, standard-ish for an Armiger. You could come straight down this line here, this isn't a big deal. And then like I said, you could go in the defense tree, kind of similar to what we've done before. Maybe down this route and come into the counterattacks, give him another chance to reduce the little turn meter. But you know, if he is counterattacking, they've just taken their turn, so they're not really gonna have any turn meter to reduce. So, you know, it's not a great way to go here for an Armiger. I do think the support tree is probably the best bet. And I did say we were going to do Mountain King today. He was on the list, but it doesn't actually look like these are done. But I'll quickly just kind of go over what I would do. We can take the ones that we can here. We are definitely going to take the crit damage, and then we'll probably come over here into this. And then we do want to come over and take the Ruthless Ambush, Cycle for sure. And then we probably want to end up in Helm Smasher. I think that's probably the way to go. Flawless is another good option for him, but I typically, for arena heavy champions, I typically go with Helm Smasher just because, you know, the extra guaranteed crit damage from Flawless is nice for consistency, and that's better for dungeons typically. But usually if your Mountain King is going to one-shot a squishy, he's going to one-shot it with or without that extra 20% crit rate, or crit damage rather. And if it's a more defensive heavy champion, this extra damage you'll get off Helm Smasher is going to be a lot more than this 20%. If it's a squishy, this is probably the way to go, but in the arena, you might be facing a lot more heavy defense champions. So I like to go Helm Smasher. It's kind of a personal choice. It's only a 50% chance of it working, but 50% of the time that could secure you a kill versus not. So I'll take that. That's where I'd end up in the T6, and I would probably go for Wrath of the Slain here. There is a chance, especially on arena defense, that some of your people are going to be dead, so that's an extra 5% damage. If you do have a heavy CC team, I really like Opportunist, only on people that you know you're going to be using with, you know, people that place these debuffs, but it definitely adds a huge chunk of damage. 12% is a lot, And if you've got, a Machelet or somebody throwing out True Fears, you've got a Gurgo that can freeze. This kind of negates the damage that you're losing by them being frozen. Stun is a great one. Astralon, the new guy that's coming out in the current fusion, is going to do an AoE stun. So if you know you're going to pair your Mountain King with an Astralon or something like that, or anybody else you're putting this mastery on, this would be a great mastery to take. But we'll go ahead and hold off on that. We're out of scrolls anyways. And then I would probably end up putting him in the defense tree. If we were going to build him heavy resist, I would probably start here. If not, I would take the extra defense. And then this mastery right here, Bloodthirst, is good on HP champions because 10% of a huge HP pool can be a huge heal. So that is a good one to take. Also, Shadow Heal is pretty nice to take if you want to go into that one instead. We've only got room for one. So if you started over here, maybe you could come here, through here, and take that. And then these counterattacks, or you could even start here, come down through here. But you definitely want to end up taking these two counterattacks here because you want your Mountain King counterattacking and one-shotting people left and right. So that is what we would do on the Mountain King, but obviously we're not going to get that done today. Alright, this is going pretty long here, so I'm going to wrap it up there, but hopefully that was helpful for you and you got something out of it. Basically, the main takeaway is just to not blindly copy your masteries from a website or a YouTube video, including mine. There are lots of situational masteries that can be absolutely great in certain situations, in certain team setups, that are just garbage and completely worthless, or could actually screw you up in other situations. Like Opportunist, that's great if you have CC on your team, but otherwise it's just a completely wasted choice. So definitely take a harder look at the masteries before you just blindly copy them, and hopefully you'll get a little bit more out of your champions. So that's going to wrap it up, and if you liked, please leave a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.